Hola, welcome to the Runnerona Podcast. This is actually a proto podcast. I plan to start with reading out my posts and then build up from there. So, welcome. In this first post, I plan to share 6 lessons learned from 6,000 kilometers of barefoot and minimalist running. And it's important to know that I use the words barefoot shoes, and minimal shoes as synonyms. So when I say barefoot running, I mean running with barefoot shoes. So I started running marathons in 2017. I ran my first marathon, the Berlin Marathon, and after 6 months I ran the second one, and 6 months later I ran the third one, but this time with barefoot or minimalist running shoes. I started transitioning to barefoot running during the training for the third marathon because I wanted to improve my running form, reduce injuries, gain strength and stability, and I basically wanted to rely more on my body to run rather than on running shoes. I don't mention this in the post, but I think I've run a little bit. I was tired of always looking for the next shoe and looking all the shoe specs, and there was something that they felt limiting. These normal the running shoes that people runners usually use. The ones with the big cushioning. So anyhow, 6 years later, 6,000 kilometers, 6 marathons, and 3 ultra marathons later, here are 6 lessons for you that I want to share and that I have learned in this process of barefoot running. So the first lesson is to start slow and be kind to yourself. When transitioning to running with barefoot running shoes, the body, the muscles, bones, all of those need time to gain strength. When I first transitioned, I looked into different research papers and books and experiences from professionals, and it became clear that taking it slow is essential. So if you want to do a full transition, please plan for at least 6 months to a year. Of course, the time varies with each case, so please be kind to yourself, avoid any injuries. Always start by doing easy runs, maybe some small number of kilometers, 2 or 3, depending on your on how you feel. And it's important to listen to your body and do incremental increases week by week, month by month. Then you'll notice that the soles and your feet will become stronger, will start expanding. You'll also notice more calluses, so embrace them. At the beginning, the calluses might be a little bit painful, like maybe 1 or 2 weeks of pain. I actually don't remember how much it took, but afterwards the calluses are quite amazing, are quite useful. So I did the full transition in maybe around 3 months, and it was quite intense. I ran my first barefoot marathon with Lewano sneakers. It's a German brand. And I felt very confident, but I still needed to improve my running form, gain more strength, which is basically the next lesson. In this website, in this podcast, in basically this effort that I'm doing, that I call Conscious and Effortless Running, it's composed of 4 principles or 4 A's that you can find on the website. And in this lesson, A for apapacho is a Mexican word. is where it comes, and it's bringing loving kindness, bringing compassion to yourself. Be kind, take it easy, and just let the body do its thing. Anyhow, going to lesson 2, your running form will change, or the running form in general will change. The question, or have you ever, or more than ever, have you recently run without any shoes on grass or a sandy beach? It definitely feels good, and if you haven't tried, or basically try just running on grass without any socks, without any shoes, I suggest you do. It feels great, and just bring awareness to that moment. Notice how it feels. When running without shoes, the biomechanics change, and when running with cushioned running shoes, landing on the heel is a possibility. So basically the longer stride is possible. But when you run without shoes on grass or with barefoot shoes, you'll notice that the landing on your foot is a bit different. The foot strike patterns change, and landing moves to the middle or to the front of the foot. So this is called midfoot or forefoot strike. So if you normally run in cushioned shoes, changing the foot strike at first might feel weird, but with enough time you'll notice how easy it is. So you'll get used to it, and actually will become the normal. So here is an interesting point to notice, that when running with cushioned shoes, listen to the sound of your shoe when landing on the floor. Is this loud? Does it feel light or heavy? Cushioned running shoes tend to be heavier than barefoot or minimalist shoes. So there's a sense of lightness when using barefoot shoes. And it is not only that the shoe is lighter, it is that you've started to transition to a different running form. And if you're interested in a running form that I recommend in this website, check out the running form page. So lesson 3, there are fewer falls and stumbles. So I remember one salesman at a barefoot shoe some years ago who said to me, and I'm paraphrasing, for me wearing a regular shoe, or quotes, for me wearing a regular shoe is like wearing a glove in my hand, quote. I feel the same. David, feel the same. I actually feel I'm wearing a hockey glove. So if you remove your shoe and your socks, in the case that you're wearing any, you will notice how sensitive the soles of your feet are. This is why, you can tingle them. There's a lot of nerve endings there. So when wearing barefoot shoes, you're allowing your feet to receive much more information from the ground. And as a lifelong faller that I am, and since I transitioned to barefoot running shoes, I have noticed an increase in my stability and balance, and in my reaction time. So my feet tend to react quicker, and I tend to fall less. Yes, and this happens, in sometimes when going on the stairs, or maybe there's a small rock on the path, or I just get distracted, and it's amazing to see my feet automatically react and regain balance, and just regain avoiding for me to fall. I'm quite happy about that. Lesson number 4 is stronger feet and less blisters on the mid to long term, basically. So this is very straightforward. With barefoot shoes, my feet started to have more space. They became stronger, my feet grew wider, and I sometimes refer to barefoot shoes as expansive shoes and regular shoes as restrictive shoes. The back muscles of my legs and buttocks also grew stronger, So, and just by the way, a wider toe box also helps to reduce damage on the nails and reduce blisters. You can find shoes that are not barefoot, but with a wider toe box, running shoes or also regular shoes. So I highly recommend them. They're not the most stylish shoes, but they are definitely an advantage in terms of the blisters. So it was going back to running, some running stories. For me, it was quite impressive to see no blisters, no swollen feet, and no damaged nails after running my first 100 kilometers. Also, when I run my first marathons in barefoot shoes. Yeah, it's quite impressive. And also, I mean, the recovery tends to be very fast. Of course, at the beginning, the first, as I mentioned before, the calluses. So at the beginning, you might, the first few weeks, you might have some blisters. Let them be. Let them grow into a callus. I believe that's the right word in English. Otherwise, I apologize. And yeah, just let them be part of your soul. So lesson 5, barefoot running spills to other areas of life. So an important question to ask oneself is if you want to use barefoot shoes for training only, or also use them in other situations like going to work, regular walking, or just everyday life. So for me, after some months, my other shoes started to feel restrictive. And in about maybe 2-3 years, I actually don't remember how much time, but it was a couple of years at least, that I started changing all my shoes, regular shoes, to minimalist and barefoot style. And in some cases, I couldn't understand why I was walking on top of a piece of wood, a wooden sole, like these typical formal shoes. They just feel so weird now. And if you're in the middle of a transition to barefoot shoes, just notice the effect in your body when wearing cushion or regular shoes. You basically have these two worlds, and just see how it feels. Just feel if there's any pain after using a regular shoe, and notice if there's any pain after using a minimalist or a barefoot running shoe. And the final lesson is that there's no perfect brand of barefoot shoe, but I do have a preference. So like any commercial brand, you'll find pros, you'll find cons. And in 2024, there's a wide availability of brands, at least in the German market. I guess in the US, in UK, Europe. I'm not so familiar in other parts of the world. But there's Vibram, the Italian brand, Leguano, that's German, Vivo Barefoot from the UK, Zero Shoes from the US, Wildling shoes. They don't have running shoes, but the regular, like casual shoes. They're German as well, quite nice. Joe Nimble, Groundies, and there are many more brands now. I've lost track, which is quite nice. Some years ago, was quite difficult to find running shoes. There were just a few brands. My advice is easy. Just try them in a store before you buy them. If you can find them online and you can try several and then return them, that's also fine. The recommendation is to have a little bit more space. It's not to have them too tight, or not too, just a little bit loose. And I can, of course, only speak from my experience. For running, I have used Vibram, the B-Run, and the Vibram B-Trek, also Leguano sneakers. And I can highly recommend Vibram or Vibram for running. For walking, I've used other brands, Leguano, Vivo Barefoot, Zero Shoes, Wildling shoes. And all of the brands have positives, and I can also recommend all of them. I love Wildling shoes. They're quite stylish. They're sort of have a Japanese vibe, and they're also very comfortable. But anyhow, also consider the environment. Barefoot shoes tend to last more kilometers. Again, I'm speaking of my experience. I can basically still use my V-Run, my V-Run after 2,200 kilometers of using them. or though mostly for shorter 6 to 10 kilometer runs, but they're still usable, and it's very impressive to see the length of the product. And here's where another of the 4 A's come to mind, and this is action. So always examine the scientific evidence. Don't take my words for granted. Try things for yourself. There's a lot of information now on barefoot shoes, and I encourage you to read more. And I hope you enjoyed my words in audio form. I will keep on experimenting for a while. Now in a very low budget form. With time, I will incorporate some more lessons, editing, maybe more production values to this. And who knows, maybe there will be a more formal podcast with guests and so on. I have lots of ideas since many years, but I have not implemented them, so I'm in the process. So anyhow, hope you enjoy. You can find me at runnerona.com or davidarubio.com or other projects that I have going in Berlin. And enjoy and have a spacious day.